Are the Miami Dolphins about to lose even more homegrown talent that they've developed through the draft? We will talk about that tonight. Have the NFL playoffs so far shown us just how far behind the eight ball compared to the top dogs in the AFC the Miami Dolphins truly are right now? We will discuss it all. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's get into this.
Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field on the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again! Touchdown!
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
All right, huddle up, huddle up. We're going to crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, 80. Wait, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the Finish Line.
I coached a great offensive lineman in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. BallGame.
All right. What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. Oh, don't worry, that'll be edited out. What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one. Appreciate all of y'all coming through. Gentlemen, we haven't had a chance to talk since, well, a couple of moves were finally made that the Miami Dolphins were trying to show a little bit of sending a message and that there was change on deck and blah, 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 blah. And I'll ask you about that. But before I do, how'd you guys enjoy playoff football without the Miami Dolphins this past weekend?
I guess I'll go first. I enjoyed it. Some good football games. I think what I do like about the playoffs, unfortunately, the Dolphins are not in it, but it shows you it separates. It's a different tier of football, and a lot more physical. You see the execution is guys are executing, and it normally takes offense, defense. It shows you everybody was picking the Chargers to beat the Texans, but it shows you how much a difference can make when you have the turnovers and stuff like that in a game like that. Tough physical football. The closest you can probably get to old school football that I remember. And, man, I enjoyed it. But, like you said, unfortunately, the Dolphins not there, but I kind of enjoyed it. Now I can just watch the game, and I don't have no attachment to it. I can just sit and watch the game and enjoy it, and I ain't got no dog in the fight.
Let me ask you this. You got no dog in the fight. You got no bias. You got no attachment. And you brought up a game there.
Yeah.
It was rumored last draft season that Harbaugh actually wanted J.J. McCarthy. He didn't want Herbert. He wanted to bring his own guy from Michigan. You saw how Herbert played. You saw how Herbert played against Jacksonville a couple of years ago when they blew a 20-plus point lead. You've been around hard-ass coaches your whole life. Do you think this is one of those things where he's, despite his physical traits, Herbert might have a short shelf life with a guy like Harbaugh who wants to run the ball, play good defense, and the quarterback has to make the plays when they present themselves, but then up until that point, basically game manage and not turn the ball over, and he's out here throwing more touchdowns to the opposing team than he is to his own. Do you think that's a thing where if Herbert repeats this, like Harbaugh could move off of him in a year or two and get his own guy?
I think even if he doesn't, I think, with some head coaches bring up Harbaugh, you can bring up Sean Payton, even with Russell Wilson. They're just not going to tolerate it. So sometime in their mind, they got a decision that this is what I want, and if it's not there, they might have to wait a year or two to replace it because – if you take away the playoff game, Herbert really had, I thought, a really good season this year. Now, he didn't play well Saturday against the Texans on the road for whatever reason, but I could see them, him kind of working his hand out the lion's mouth and say, hey, we might want to move on. And like you said, he might just need a game manager because that's the kind of style he plays, running the football, tough physical, and you don't need a guy to just throw it, just don't turn the ball over. So, I can see that.
Why did he love Kaepernick so much? It wasn't because of Kaepernick's ability to throw the ball. It's because Kaepernick added another dimension to what he wanted to do, right? Run the ball, right? Kaepernick added another dimension, and then he could make plays out of structure if he had to. But it was about, he could really – he was an extension of the run game. And Herbert isn't it like, he's a good athlete for his size, clearly. But he's not like, Lamar or, one of these, great mobile quarterbacks,
Yeah, he ran at times, but you're right. He's not a guy that you consider a dual threat. He's not like you said, Lamar, Josh Allen, guys that just he can run, but that's not his.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't put him in that class. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So because I'm very interested to see, because did you see? I don't know if you guys saw, but speaking of the playoffs, did you see how quickly Kevin O'Connell basically moved off of Sam Darnold after they lost? He basically said, I wish him well, blah, 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 blah. Bad, yeah, and they said, Jordan Schultz reported Sam Darnold's still going to get $30+ million a year, but they're going to JJ. They're going to JJ McCarthy. But, BallGame, what did you think about the playoff weekend with no Dolphins?
Well,
stress-free, I guess.
Hey, man, so I've been pretty much enjoying football with no stress on me for –
Here we go.
You know what I'm saying? It's like week 12, to be honest with you. So, a lot of things came to, to fruition, and a lot of my questions about who's who, and guys that they've compared to Tua and all these things really just laid itself out in front of me. So I was sitting there most of the time this weekend.
Love was awful.
Yeah. Answering phone calls from people just like, oh, yeah, okay, well, you remember when you said, just because he got that big arm and he big, don't mean he an NFL caliber quarterback. You throw 4 turnovers, playoffs, they're going to make you pay for it. But it did also, to what Richard said, made me realize how much further we got to go before we're ready to compete against some of these teams, man.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
All in all, though, I'm just enjoying the ride at this point. I don't have no dog in the fight. I can sit down and my sons and I can have open, honest dialogue about, the games, what I'm saying, the beauty of the game without being upset and pissed off because
listen, I said it preseason. I picked the Detroit Lions and the Chiefs. I'm cheering for the Commanders though. Jaden's that dude, man.
Yes, sir.
He's good in big games, man. He just,
he is
ice cold.
Nice.
I think I tagged you in a BallGame.
He did.
Dude, the thing I will always thank Herbert for, and BallGame and EM Dolphin fan will remember back with the 2019 when we were doing the Tuesday night panel. Dude, Herbert, I'll never forget that Friday night when I watched Herbert Oregon Ducks against Arizona State Sun Devils.
Yeah.
And Jaden Daniels, a freshman, and he beat and out-dueled Herbert. And I was like, I remember coming on that Tuesday night panel and being like, if this kid bulks up, holy jeez. And listen, he's still got a little bit of a leaner frame.
He's skinny, man.
Yeah.
That kid is just a baller when the lights get brighter, man. And like
The more they
Dan
hit him,
Quinn,
the harder he plays.
Oh man. And look at, you know what? Like, this is what you
Tampa
guys
Bay
know.
pushed him up. Tampa Bay beat him up, bro.
Yeah.
And
but you guys know I was a Sam Howell fan, right?
yeah.
But what I hated about before Sam Howell was coming there, did you notice McLaurin was starting to disappear a little bit?
Yeah.
And Jaden Daniels has totally rejuvenated Terry McLaurin and reminded everyone that McLaurin is a top 10 guy when he's on his game, man. You know, it's like Bo Nix bringing Cortland Sutton back out. You know what I mean right now? Like,
that's real.
Yeah, like, and I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. Speaking of Bo Nix came out and said that he played with 3 fractures in his back, okay? And the Broncos let him play. We know for the last 2 weeks of the season, Tua was pushing to play, and he was being held out by our staff and by our head coaches in fear of further injury. Are the Miami Dolphins coddling Tua Tagovailoa way too much instead of letting a football player be a football player, especially in a playoff run when said football player himself is saying, let me get in there?
That sounds like the classic case of protecting the asset. Sometimes it happens, man. I think when you're dealing with a guy like Sean Payton that's been around as long as he's been around, you want to see and truly see. You really at some point you have to see what your kids can get through, because there's always going to be the whole adage of, are you hurt or are you injured? You feel me? And if you have it checked, if you have whatever is ailing you checked out by the specialist and they say that it can't get any worse, sometimes you just gotta, you know what I'm saying, you gotta just tighten up, put the you know what I'm saying, put the pads on a little tighter, you know what I'm saying, put the flak jacket on and then go get it. And you know what I'm saying, hats off to Bo Nix for gutting it out, man. He went through hell over there with Sean Payton, though. They say he was over there having mental breakdowns because Sean was so hard on him. But at the end of the day, all of that pressure that you go through as a quarterback of an NFL, you know, of an NFL team, they have to know, can you handle this? Is the kid gonna be able to endure it and make? So, hey man, he pushed through pain. Yeah, hats off to him. Warrior spirit. That's what I call it. I mean,
where are you at, Richmond?
Yeah, that sounds definitely old school. Sound like what BallGame is describing. I'm just wondering if you got. I mean, that sounds pretty serious stuff. You got fractures in your back. What are they telling you to where, like BallGame said, you can't do any more damage? But you know, when you start talking back, neck, those are real sensitive issues. So I mean, I know he didn't expound on it or whatever, but for them to be taking that risk if he's supposed to be your future quarterback and he's a rookie, and you had to win all the way out to get in the playoffs, you know, is it worth the risk long term? I guess that's what I look at. And then you look at a team like the Dolphins. Did they protect Tua? I think so, but I think they're trying to protect their brand and their image as well, only because of the concussions Tua has previously had. So then you send him out and then he does get hurt. Then it puts another black mark on you and the organization that, you know, you really don't care about your prayers and this and that. So I get it, but that with Bo Nix, that kind of concerns me. If you're saying you got fractures in your back and you out there playing, that can be career ending. So I don't know how serious or whatever it was, but evidently somebody gave him clearance on. So that, but to hear that, I mean, I appreciate you trying to be tough and you gutting it out, but at the same time, you know, you could cost yourself your career by trying to, you know, do something that maybe is not small. I just don't know enough about the NBA. That's the way I look at it.
I guarantee you, if he had a new age coach, one of these guys that are, you know, around the same age as Mike, and he wouldn't have played. But when you got an old dog like Sean Payton who don't give nothing, like Drew Brees played with 2 broke fingers on his non-throwing hand, You know what I'm saying? At periods, and Sean knew it was gonna be like them fingers are like wayward at this point. But hey, man, I need you on this field. You my commander in chief for this team. So
Yeah, that's old
but
school. Yeah,
that's old
yeah.
school. You know,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, you know what I mean? It is what it is. This was some of these kids got to face these days, like Dan Quinn. You don't see Dan Quinn pulling back the reins on Jaden Daniels. Go play, young man. Just be smart. Are you okay? You know what I'm saying? Jaden look over there at him. I'm good, coach. All right, keep going. And I'll tell you, Tampa Bay was tattooing the shit out of him this weekend, bro. That shit was crazy to me. How much they were letting him hit him and get away with it. You feel me? Like I know there's quarterback. Like you couldn't have touched Pat Mahomes the way they was hitting him. Levante David was literally he could tell you everything about Jaden Daniels because he was hitting and touching him that much. Damn near like sexual assault. You know what I mean?
He got to get to that Mahomes level. He ain't on that level. You got to pay your dues for you start getting them kind of breaks. Yeah, it's like the certain quarterbacks get a little bit more benefits if they one of the stars they've been proven and they want to deal. They gonna let flat a lot
They were letting
quicker.
him tee off on him, bro.
Yeah.
You know, every time he got hit, me and Kevin Jr. was looking at each other like, whew, man. And then when they hit him up top with his helmet. And that thing cut his face, and they was over there showing that gash was significant. He gonna have a scar on his face for the rest of his life, bro.
I wanted to ask you guys this because you brought up Dan Quinn and like what he's doing and everything like that. You know, first of all, now I know there's only 8 quarterbacks left, but there's only 3 quarterbacks in the playoffs better than Jaden Daniels, and they're all in the AFC right now. Okay, that's Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar. And guess what? If you want to do the whole NFL, who are you going to add to that list? Maybe Burrow right now. Burrow's the best quarterback in the NFL this year, right? Like Jaden Daniels, I am more comfortable in saying Jaden Daniels is a top 10 quarterback after 1 year than I was last year. Remember, I wouldn't say it about CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
And then CJ Stroud had this sophomore slump.
He did. It was noticeable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, thank God the Chargers were that bad, right? Because I feel like the Dolphins could have beat both of those teams if we played complimentary football on all 3 phases, which, I mean, good luck. That's like playing Russian roulette.
That Texas team is physical though. I don't know if we're ready for that yet. We gotta dig deep.
No, the offense.
Oh, the offense. Okay.
That offense would have that defense is beast, but that offense, even look at CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Bro, when they got up 7-6, did you see Herbert overthrow McConkey? McConkey was gone, bro. What? By the way, remember how badly I wanted Glad McConkey last year?
Yep.
Do you remember how badly I wanted Glad McConkey last year? Isn't he not Cooper Kupp 2.0? That kid is
just a little bit faster.
Unbelievable. Yeah, he's faster. Yeah. I'm talking about like as a route technician. Hands, etc.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not talking about speed, but I'm talking about just like from a receiver standpoint. Like, bro, that guy is just so automatic. It's unbelievable. Oh my God. Him and Brian Thomas were like the best, you know, and Malik Neighbors, I think you can make the argument for. But
who was slowly also coming on too was McCaffrey's brother over there with Jaden Daniels.
Luke.
Yeah. He played.
And guess what?
Significant time over there too, and he's a pretty decent receiver too.
Trivia question. Where's their other brother?
That's a good question. Maybe
Max McCaffrey is an offensive assistant for the Miami Dolphins right now, he's one of the guys that's probably going to replace Wes Welker. He played wide receiver in college, like Luke. And the talk is that there's a couple of guys, and Max McCaffrey is one of the couple guys that could potentially be an internal hire to replace Wes Welker.
Welker took the fall for Tyreek. Huh?
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about this. I haven't had a chance to discuss this with you, gentlemen. Danny Crossman canned.
Yeah.
Do we really need to get into that? I mean, we all pretty much know where that's at.
Way overdue.
Like, holy geez, 2 years too late. And okay, gentlemen, Wes Welker. Okay, I'm gonna get into it. Let me lay it out for you guys, and then I want to hear your thoughts. Okay, Tyreek Hill, 2 career years of over 1,700 yards. Jalen Waddle's best football in career year under Wes Welker. Trent Sherfield, the best ball he's played in the NFL, Wes Welker and Tua. All right. River Craycraft gave us more here than he did
anywhere
else. Okay. Now, Izakama flopped. Y'all both went to Texas Tech. I get it. Izakama flopped. Guys, they want to put the drops on Welker from Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Is he the one that has to own a jug machine and hit the jug machine, or is that on the player? I'm going to say that. Okay, number one. So, anyways. And then you said he took the fall for Tyreek Hill, okay? Is that his job to rein in Tyreek Hill, or is that Mike McDaniels? Is that his job to rein in OBJ, or is that Mike McDaniels? So, okay, people want to say, okay, well, then, people say to me, gentlemen, well, we couldn't beat the too high. Can you gentlemen remind me who the game planner, play designer, and play caller is? Is that on the receivers coach to figure out how to beat the too highs, or is that on the play caller, who's also the game planner and the play designer? Please, okay? So I don't know where people are coming with that. Now, you want to talk about maybe getting these guys with better release packages so you don't have to just rely on motion? Maybe you got a little bit of an argument there for me if you want to go there. But I want to know what your guys' thoughts, because it does feel like what BallGame said, and I'll let BallGame start off. It does feel like what you said, BallGame. It feels like either he's falling on a sword or, look at me, did Tyreek mention Welker in their hour-long exit meetings with Greer and McDaniel, and one of the concessions to try and repair the relationship was potentially Welker out of here? Because I've heard Welker's a hard ass, and I heard Welker had very high standards from what he expected from his players. And last I checked, it wasn't Welker excusing him for an illness only for Tyreek to show up when we're supposed to be prepping for the Jets on TikTok behind the cash register at his Soul Runner show in Soul Runner store in Ventura Mall. That was Mike McDaniel. So what are your thoughts, BallGame? You can already see where I'm leaning on this.
I'm already 100% in my mind believing that West took the strays and took the shots that were being sent out, and they used a bunch of things, right? I heard the same thing you heard, that he was but you got to think where he came from and what he was able to do with his career, and you know what I'm saying, and put his name in, into the books up there where he was in New England. The guy's a professional. So you knew who you had when you were bringing him in, and him holding guys responsible is what you want. That's what you need from your position coaches, right? And if they're the ones spend the most time with these cats, and if they can't be the ones to rein them in or talk to them the way they need to be talked to be the best professionals they can be, then who else gonna do it? Because we clearly saw that as soon as Mike came in, he was buddy with everybody. The unfortunate thing is that you have to back up your coaches. That makes it extremely hard for somebody to want to come in and work for Mike, knowing that if your diva number one receiver is having an issue that he don't want to be a professional and be called out for his BS, then what alternative do you have, right? You're just a guy there on the class. If you're just a guy on the staff that can't tell these guys truly exactly what they need to do to get better and how they can go about getting better and hold them accountable, then what's the point of having them there in the first place, right? And for me, right, I can close my eyes and see a meeting where Tyreek is sitting in there and completely throw Wes Welker under the bus. I can see it. Just because he's being asked to be exactly what he was being paid to be, a leader, and he's not wanting to do it. He wanting to freelance and do his own thing, and he probably became a little too Miami, right? Right, because you can say a lot of things about Tua being hurt and all this other stuff, but if you're that dog, you still have your numbers. You can see Justin Jefferson making no excuses about the quarterback play, right? When Kirk got hurt, Jefferson still got his numbers even after Kirk came back, and whoever else they had that quarterback, he still got his numbers. So if you're that guy, doesn't matter who the quarterback is, they'll figure out a way to get you the ball, and you always can do what you need to do. You don't ever see none of the greats talking about quarterback play. Some of them had shitty quarterback play their entire careers, and they still had the numbers they had to get into the hall and do all of the things that they do to be mentioned amongst the best of the best. But, I do believe that he was a sacrifice, man. And that's unfortunate because that hurts the younger receivers. That takes away from a guy like Malik being able to fully take advantage of all that Wes Welker can bring to the table and give him to put into his bag. Because if there's no mentoring coming on from Tyreek and all, Tyreek's the guy showing up late and don't want to be held accountable, you fostering bad habits. And those bad habits eventually erode away all the trust and all of what you're trying to accomplish. And then you're left trying to figure out how you're going to get guys motivated to do what they need to do on Sundays. And there ain't no commitment to it. But you're going to fire the coach because maybe he's the one that's holding them accountable. Then they're looking at it from the wrong end of the spectrum, bro. Like the position coach has to have some autonomy to be able to get in, to be able to hold his guys accountable. Now, I don't know what kind of system he had, but I would have been the first one. Like, man, you show up late, bro. You gassers. We running gassers until I get tired. I don't care. I don't care how much you work. I don't care how much you make. I'm the one in charge. My livelihood is on the line for you and your inability to be here on time. So, you either show up or I'm gonna show out.
Yeah.
If they get rid of me, you're going to at least know that I stood on principle. So,
what do you think, Richmond?
Yeah, I see that. I'm going to try to put a little different spin on it just to give something else to look at. I was kind of thinking about that. I don't want to keep going over the same points that BallGame brought up because he brought up some really good ones. But we all know that the fan base wasn't happy with the decisions that was made as far as the head coach and the GM, right? So typically, if you're on the hot seat, what do? You somebody else to take that pressure off you. And like you said, I agree. I think Wes Walker's, the way he played is the way he coached. He came from the Belichick system. We've all heard how even Belichick would call out Tom Brady. So if he called out Tom Brady, the best player on the team, everybody else. So he's got a really high level of toughness and mental toughness and this and that. And whatever he did, he didn't care whether you were Tyreek or the lowest receiver on the. He has a certain level of expectation. If you're not executing, he's gonna call you out. I do believe that about him. Wasn't there, but I do believe that. But I can see when you on the hot seat, you can try to you use some other counters, and I've seen it at other places. The good thing about Wes Walker is the way he coaches and the way he the way he coaches players, stuff like that. He's gonna get another job. And then I was thinking about what you said, Reason, which was a good point as far as all emotion and stuff. The coordinator designed the offense as a position coach. You just executing whatever his vision is. So it wasn't that he couldn't teach the guys how to release the line with all emotion. If that's the way you design an offense, you're just playing within the parameters of the offense. Yeah. So you can't hold him accountable for that. Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. Like I said, BallGame knocked it out the park. So I just tried to bring up a few other.
Well, like Richmond, he was wide receiver coach and passing game coordinator. But we know that was more of a title for a pay grade because we know the game planner, the play designer, and the play caller is Mike McDaniel. If you were truly the passing game coordinator, you'd be calling plays in the passing game, right? Like that's what you would. But we know you ain't calling plays. It's McDaniel. So we know that's just a title for a pay grade. Stop. I know this guy, and even if he was more involved and really involved in the passing game. Tua was lights out for most of his starts when he played this year. And guess what? The passing game, if the defense and special teams showed up, we would have beat Buffalo in week 14. If so, other than the Houston game, what did I not get from and week 2 against Buffalo? When was Tua really bad this year?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Games, like Buffalo, even Arizona, we make a field goal or something.
Or Mozart doesn't fumble, fumble, and they're obviously not going to blame Stoodsville. Look at the country club we run. Look, I want you to think about. Look at the country club we run, gentlemen. Crossman and Boyer held over from Flores. Okay, Boyer gets fired after year 2. it takes how many years for Crossman to finally get fired? And we know they were held over because they basically turned on Flores and sided with Greer and Garfinkel, and that's why they got, pat on the back, guys. But then look at Lemuel Jean-Pierre. This guy got demoted from offensive line coach to like assistant, right? Mm-hmm. Then you look at you keep going and you look at across. Eric Studesville failed with Godsey as a duo OC, but they just revert him back to running backs coach instead of just saying, "Yo, move off of him." New fresh ideas, new looks. It's crazy, bro.
You know what reason I was just sitting here thinking, and BallGame probably can address it better than me. But you remember last year we brought in Vic Fangio, and it sounded like the same maybe with Welker. He was too hard on the players or something. And he probably saw it. He's like, you know what, man? I'm out. Y'all can have it. Because I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you come in with the mentality of trying to establish some level of discipline or some level of toughness, and that requires guys to come outside of their comfort zones or what they've been used to for a number of years, and now you're pushing them past those limits and all those other things, then they're definitely not going to be welcomed as early. But sometimes, you know what I'm saying, I always remember, and I used to tell my wife this too at the end of the day. She was like, "Why are you so hard on me?" I said, "Because they don't know what they don't know. And they don't understand that everything that I'm putting them through right now is going to make them better on the back end. They can't see it right now, but they're going to thank me for it later." And sometimes coaches, you know what I'm saying, you want to establish, like I said, it's always about respect first and then the rapport that you have with the players. But at the end of the day, everybody there has a business. I mean, everybody has a job to do. And my job is not to baby you. You can't baby gladiators. You've never seen anybody. I've never seen a movie where the Romans had people down there pampering the gladiators. No. I gotta prepare you.
They pamper the dude that owns the gladiators.
Own the gladiators. Yes. I gotta prepare you to go out here and fight to the death. Right?
Yeah.
Now, that might be a little bit overstretched, but you get what I'm saying. Like, this is a combat sport. One of the premier combat sports on the planet. Right? And anytime it could be taken from you, you gotta be ready for that. Mentally, physically, you gotta be dialed in. And the only way the old school way still works. You got to be tough on players.
Yeah. And if it works and you're consistent with it, like you said, you don't really worry about getting a job because you say, I know somebody else going to bring me in. It's just wasn't a fit. This is what I believe. And there's other guys out there, got that same like-minded thing. And it shows up a lot of time in the type of teams you play. You can tell when they got that old school mentality of toughness mentality. It comes from the head coach down. You can tell it.
Knight says, who is to blame? It's always something. 35 years of failure, countless GMs, head coaches, quarterbacks. We had one of the five greatest of all time and still failed at head coach and at quarterback. I mean, let's be honest. Let's keep it real. Shula was amazing, but what did we do with those rosters in the 90s? We always came up short. See, that's what I'm telling you. This has turned into a franchise problem. This is turned into an organizational issue. This is not a Tua issue. It's been 25 years since we won a playoff game. Has Tua been the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins for 25 years? No. Like, this is an organizational issue. And I hate to be the one to say this, gentlemen, but I'm hearing rumblings that he's much more invested in the F1 right now. And I'm going to tell you this much. If these Miami Dolphins take the backseat to the F1, brother, I've never said it before, but I will say it. Sell the damn team. Because at that point, you need to be gone. Oh, man. Go ahead.
So if you had two hobbies, right, and one was
say again, I didn't hear that.
If you had two hobbies if you had two things that you were investing your time in, and one was definitely giving you more pleasure and more enjoyment, and the other one was just taking away your time and giving you more frustration
and your money,
what would you choose?
Of course.
At the end of the day, I get it, but my thing has always been, I believe, you got these cities, man. Think about it, like Kansas City. Ain't nobody running. Ain't nobody coming to the United States to go move to Kansas City. Cause there ain't much there, bro. Like
No.
some of these places, like when you think about what some of these places, where these teams are located.
Foxborough.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you just not gonna, you know what I mean? 'Cause that's what you got when you're there and you're part of that organization and you're part of those teams. It's different. The mindset has to be different because that's really all you got there to lean on, right? But when you go to, like, Miami got way too much stuff going on, bro. And in this day and age, these cats, as young as they are, they involved in the social media stuff as well, bro. Their focus is not football, bro. It's not.
Bro, and you want to know what's crazy? You want to know what's crazy? You know what you literally need a roster of? You need a roster of 53 Christians with their heads on straight, but have that dog mentality when the ball snaps. So that means the Miami life is not going to be a distraction for anyone. They're going to go home after they're done working, and they're going to get to work. Like, that's literally what you need. And
21 and 22-year-olds from the middle of the Midwest that's already married,
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what Tannehill had going for him when he drafted that quarterback.
What did you say, Richmond? That ain't gonna work.
That ain't work.
But you gotta get out of Miami then. You gotta move the team. You gotta move the team, man, because Miami got way too much going on, bro. I'm telling you.
Or that curse is real. The curse of the Tequesta is real.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called. And we got to move the fucking property, never mind the team. You know? But yeah, you're right. You know, but see, like, I know Heat fans are getting tired of Pat Riley. But look at what he's Yeah, but look at what he's done for you as a franchise. Look at how many NBA finals you've been in.
Yeah, in the championships. Yeah.
You're not going to win them all because you guys weren't built, other than when you had LeBron, Bosh, and Wade, you guys didn't build a super team around Jimmy Butler. Right. So, like, you know, you guys were getting together with well-built, cohesive rosters and good coaching, right? Because Spo turned into a really good coach. You know what I mean?
Be out of there before Pat Riley stepped down, though. So, shit, Pat Riley gonna die in that seat.
Well, look at another franchise. Look at I know they're getting back to there, but look at how good the San Antonio Spurs have been, right?
That wouldn't be something different, though.
Yeah, but look at what's been the one consistent they've always had with Pop. Coaching, and a good direction and a good vision, right? They were preparing to tank for Wemby like years before. Like, they were getting ready because of their tie to Tony Parker. Tony Parker's who found Wemby. So they knew about Wemby in the pipeline way before, and they were gearing up for that move way before. Like, you know, we go to football. Ozzie Newsome. Look at the blueprint they bid.
Probably the best drafter. He probably the best drafter of the
He built
last,
the blueprint for what you to look for in offensive linemen, in trenches, the coaching. Like, look at Harbaugh.
Running backs.
Like, I always say this, BallGame, your coach, Richmond, you played the game. How impressive is it that Harbaugh went from building an offense around a statue in Flacco and won a Super Bowl to the total opposite of the spectrum with Lamar Jackson? And now, since they got Derrick Henry, gentlemen, they look more dangerous than ever. This year looks like the year where they're going to beat Buffalo this weekend, and I don't know if KC better be ready.
Yeah, you better.
Because Mahomes is going to have to make plays in that game.
But see, that's the thing, though, right? What do you see? What stands out to you more so than anything else when you see that Harbaugh team?
What stands out to me?
Physical and mental toughness.
And they've been that way for 30 years since they
don't change. Things don't have to change. That's what I'm saying.
BallGame, it's the same reason. Bro, do you think, check this out. Do you think we could ever win a game against the Denver Broncos, scoring 13 points to win that game, and Tua throwing for 117 yards?
Us, no.
Mike Tomlin did that with Justin Fields and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, let's be honest, the wheels fell off at the end of the season, but they had overachieved so much.
The defense was different, though.
Yeah, and they overachieved for the first 3 quarters of the season that got them into the playoffs.
Yeah, that defense was definitely different.
But look at what Tomlin, yes, you can make the argument. Is Tomlin turning into the new Marv Lewis? Remember, he would always just get the Bengals into the playoffs, but then they'd be done with Dalton after they looked like they were those dudes with Palmer.
I think
Is he turning into that? You can talk about that. But the fact is he's still overachieving in a tough-ass division with the Bengals and the Ravens. He's still overachieving and make the playoffs with rosters that aren't as good as ours.
Yeah, I think what he's facing more so right now is a change in the kids. He hasn't changed, and his philosophy hasn't changed, which is one of the reasons why they've only had 3 coaches in the history. They love what he brings to the table as a coach, but
the big issue is Pickens right now. Ownership wants to move off of him, and he's put his foot down and said, "No, I don't want you to move off of him."
Yeah, he feels like he can help him. He feels like he can save him. And to be honest with you, I like that move because that's showing that the coach is more than just what the people up in the stand, up in the box with the ties on are saying. He's tied to this kid and he wants to help him through whatever it is he's struggling with. Because if you remember, he don't want to have on his resume that he allowed to. I think it's a little personal more than that. I think what it comes down to is that the whole debacle with AB, that really hurt him. You feel me? Like, and he don't want to have to go through that again and have that scrutiny on him and saying that he didn't help this kid through whatever it is that he's going through. Like people said that he went wrong with AB. So, as a man,
well, look what he got out of Deontay Johnson, and look what Deontay Johnson is turning into now.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, the Pickens thing is a little. I stand with him on, saying trying to help him as much as you can, because there has to be a lot more empathy and sympathy in the world, and we don't know truly what that dude is going through when he's at home by himself off the field. You feel me? And then it manifests itself and shows itself differently on the field with these tantrums. So Mike stepping outside of, using his power as the head coach to say, you know what? I know y'all want him gone, but I think I can still help him, and I'm going to do everything I can. I can rock with that as a coach. So.
But look at how they've drafted and how they built. They always still look at how they're focusing on the trenches now. Frazier, Broderick Jones.
They even went legacy though.
McCormick.
They went legacy with Porter.
But look at what they also did. We were the ones that picked Charles Harris. And they picked TJ Watt. They went legacy with JJ too. And look at how it worked out.
Yeah.
Right?
Pedigree does matter, bro.
Yeah, it does. Bosa's. Look at Dolphin fans. Look at the Bosa's. Look at their father, right?
Pedigree is real. The DNA never lies to you, so.
Yeah.
You might have a
Maury.
Every now and then you might have a runt, but you know what I'm saying? For the most part, if you've been known to put out studs and stallions, you're going to keep putting out studs and stallions. So
yeah. So before we get into our main topic here, you mentioned it briefly. I said we get into it later. Have the NFL playoffs shown you guys just how far behind the top AFC teams the Miami Dolphins are?
Yep. I thought we were closer. I ain't gonna lie to you. I thought we were closer after that first season. You know what I'm saying? But you have to build upon that type of success, and you have to have guys buy in more. I think every year after year they've bought in less, and they bought into the hype of what transpired as opposed to the work ethic side of things and making themselves better professionals. That's what I see. The product on the field didn't look as hungry as it did that first year. You know what I mean? And
even last year in the first half, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and
so let me ask you this BallGame before we get Richmond's thoughts. Do you think last December and how that season ended took the wind out of a lot of the sails, where you had the grasp on the division and you let everything through your fingers?
Yep, they took it for. I personally feel like they took a little bit. They kind of took it for granted, thinking that they were still kind of good to go and didn't have to commit as much to what had got them there, and then they got bit, and then it didn't work out in our favor, and that happens sometimes where you start listening to the outside stuff instead of focusing on what's happening right there in the house, and everybody else talking to each other inside the house instead of listening to what's going on in the streets, and you lose focus, and too many of them lost focus because you can see they were uncharacteristically doing things that they hadn't done previously in games that came down to, close games or whatnot. And we lost games that we never should have lost. And when you look back over it, games like the Titans and the Titans game, those are all games that we didn't show up mentally focused. And then when we got focused, it was too late. We was playing from behind, and it's hard to build momentum when another team has it and they've got it going. It's always tough to then, especially when you're on the road and stuff like that, to go in and steal it away. And if they don't want you to have it, you got to go take it. And we just didn't have the ability to take it. And that eats away at you, right? And it has you looking at the guy next to you thinking, I thought you was tougher than that. Well, hell, I thought you were tougher. You know what I mean? And then you start to question. And once cats start to question themselves, it's all downhill from there.
I think the fact that Will Levis owns us is a sick joke because I was such a big fan of him in that class. Richmond, what are your thoughts on that? Have the NFL playoffs shown you, specifically in the AFC, just how far behind the cream of the crop we are? The cream of the crop,
yeah. I think even before even to the playoffs, by mid-season, you could kind of see it. And I think that's, I think that was maybe a little bit to that. Me and BallGame stopped making game predictions and stuff like that because it was things that I was saying that, not being able to make the adjustment at half times or, the penalties. It was just certain things that didn't have the characteristic of a playoff team. Typically, it gets tougher the second half of the season versus the first half. And I was like, unless they wake up and that with the offensive line issues and not being able to physically get after people, this and that, from probably December on, maybe a little bit before that, you got to really step your game up and play a different brand of football and start to see the teams kind of separate or get in a rhythm and say, okay, this is what's going to take a required to get there and start noticing the different differences. So it wasn't a big surprise. It's disheartening because you always want your team to be one of those teams, but you kind of see it and then you just like, hey, it's not, we didn't have enough this year. So it was definitely, it wasn't hard to you watching the games like you should.
Now, one of the biggest pet peeves I've had with Chris Grier, guys, is the fact that he never gets out ahead of extensions when it comes to projecting the trajectory of his young players, as well as the rise and falls of said markets those players will be in when their free agency or the time comes up. And now you got to ask the question, could the Miami Dolphins, are we going to be without some more homegrown talent? We've lost Rob Hunt, Christian Wilkins, just to name a few over the last couple of years. Because this is what Javon Holland said regarding free agency.
Yeah, I do, but I'm also open to, the possibility of being somewhere else. Like I'm not necessarily, I wouldn't hate the idea of coming back. I wouldn't hate the idea of leaving. I'm kind of just, it almost feels like I'm back, preparing for the draft again kind of thing. Like wherever life takes me is where life takes me. And I'm going to be put in the position that, God wants me to go. And I can't control anything else. I had posted some that Kyrie had said, in an interview or whatnot, but he was basically like, hey, I'm going to control the things I can control and everything else I'm going to let the universe take care of. And so that's basically my mindset right now. That's why I'm really not stressing about anything. Like whatever ends up happening is going to happen for a reason, and that's exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Some bullshit.
I mean, like usually you hear players come up here and say, I want to be back in Miami. My home's here. I want to start a family here. They drafted me. This guy basically said, yeah, I could be here. Take it or leave it. I could be here. I could be in another city. Because you guys were talking about you need to find players that kind of stay off social media. Javon Holland is not one of them. Tyreek Hill is not one of them. We need guys in the locker room that don't get on social media, that worry about, talk about controlling the controllables. You should be locking in, not worrying about what's being said on you about X. But, BallGame, I'll let you go again because you had some strong words there. And Richmond was laughing in the background there when you were done saying what you had to say. What are your thoughts on that? Because that was pretty much an answer of like, yeah, I could care less if I'm back.
I'm first and foremost, I'm big on loyalty. I'm big on paying back and staying loyal to those that have been loyal to you. And the draft part of things is one of the pieces of this whole process that nobody has any control over until you get selected and your name is called, and then the team says that we like what you bring to the table. We want you to be a part of what we got going on. And then they bring you in. They don't miss paying you. They don't miss making sure that your payments are on time. They make sure that you have the best of all the facilities that you have afforded to you. They make sure that the best doctors get to see you. They make sure that all of the facilities around you are the cream of the crop to put you in the best spot to be the best professional you can. And then you turn around and talk about, well, you know what I'm saying, I'm okay if I could be there or I could be somewhere else. I can see myself. Then you really never committed to the process of being here because we committed to you for 4 seasons. Changed your life, gave you an opportunity, and then you want to turn around because what? Things may not be. You didn't play up to what we expected you to play up to. You kind of actually flashed at us early on, and then you kind of tapered off, and then you had a decline in your play. You know what I'm saying? So, but nobody held that against you, and it's still opening the door to say they want you to come back. But then you talking about, oh well, this, that, and the third. Well, if it ain't in your heart to be here, then haul ass. Simple and plain. Like the one thing about football is this. Like you attach yourself to a player, you can love the work ethic of a player, but at the end of the day, players gonna come and players gonna go, and the game of football is gonna always move on, and especially in the NFL. Continue to have young kids gonna play this game, they're gonna come up and they're gonna get selected in the NFL draft, and every time they come through, one of them gonna be coming to looking to take your job. So if you don't want to be a part of what's going on here, take your chances and go somewhere else, and you can turn out like Christian Wilkins did, because at the end of the day, what did they get out of them over there at the Raiders, other than Antonio Pierce fired, and now they're looking for a start all over again. And unfortunately, it is what it is. I said that to say this. I look at what's best for the player. I look at what's best for the organization. And I think sometimes the players forget that it's the organizations that put them in the positions that they're in the first place. Everything that they did prior to this point, college ball, all that stuff, somebody paid the way for you to be there. Ain't nobody going to college for free other than the scholarships they gave you, but they also taking care of you. And nowadays with the NIL deals and all this other stuff, you're getting premium money to be in a place. All you got to do is put maximum effort back into giving us something to feel like we got our money's worth. I don't think that's a bad deal for any organization to feel like, I just want my money's worth. And if he looked like over the course of the last 4 seasons, I think he got way more out the deal than he did. But if he feel like he getting slighted, he feel like he can go somewhere else and get a better situation for himself, then go right head on. Because at the end of the day, the process is going to still keep moving. And that's the unfortunate thing about football. And, you know, when you got guys that really ain't committed to being in the place that they in, everybody going to lose no sleep over that because you didn't care about me. You didn't love me enough in the first place to say, you know what, this is the only place I want to be. Somebody ask you that question, your answer should always be, I love where I am. This is where I want to be. Done. If you go back and forth stuff, then I don't want you to be here because your heart ain't here. So we'll holler at you.
Yeah, it sure looked like your heart wasn't in there with some whiff tackles and some of your play this year.
Yeah.
Knight says should have kept Brandon Jones by Holland. And hey, you know what? There's another reason why I think a consensus pick a lot of this fan base would be happy with is Malachi Starks, and Malachi Starks is going to be a better player than Javon Holland, it seems. But Richmond, what do you think about that? Because on the flip side, Richmond, he's kept quiet. You're also going to lose a guy like Liam Eichenberg, who not a lot of people are going to shed a tear over, potentially. I think they're going to look at bringing him back as a depth piece. I got a sneaking suspicion they ain't done with him if they can get him on the cheap. But the point of the matter is you could be losing more homegrown talent here, which has been a recurring theme under Chris Greer. What are your thoughts on the situation?
Well, I'll say this about homegrown talent. If it's homegrown talent and you perform at a consistent level and you're still on the incline, those are the ones you don't want to lose. I'll say that. But I think, and nothing is 100%, but I think now guys are looking more at the bag versus, it ain't about loyalty. It's about what you get paid, this and that. And you see it in college. Like BallGame said about NIL and stuff like that. It's, years kids entering the portal, this and that, and some of them have minimal stats, and they can go to another school and get a nicer bag than what they had before. So it's not about loyalty anymore. The only thing they're loyal to is themselves. So, and it's not everybody. It's a lot of kids that way, and it just that's the new way that you got to get used to with free agent stuff. I think the thing, like I said, you don't want to miss the mark on the guys that's shown that they consistently produced at a high level or to continue to get better. those are the guys you want to keep in your organization. But if it's guys that, like you say, start up and then kind of peak off and they're still fairly young, you want to be real cautious about paying those guys unless it was an injury or something that they fought through to, kind of team. You kind of understand why their play dropped off or whatever. But I don't have a problem with the homegrown talent as long as the talent is worthy of being rewarded a new contract under that. So I don't have a problem with that. But it's not just rewarding because you showed you got talent, but then you don't consistently produce at a level that's expected. Because as you get in the league, you should continue to get better, or at least get to a certain level and kind of level off and maintain. And as you get a little bit older, you're gonna taper off a little bit. But for guys coming out of their first contract, you typically don't expect anything like that. So when you show you are, and if you're worthy of being paid, then I say, okay, yeah. But if not, like this guy is more about him. It's not more about the team or this and that. I don't know if this is a guy that we can truly build around to help us get to the next level. And I think that's some of the evaluation process as a head coach and a GM. How does this guy fit in our system? Is this a guy we need to keep around, or is this a guy that maybe can let him go and bring in somebody else? I think those are some of the questions you have to start asking if you're really trying to build an organization and get to a championship level and being able to compete. I think you got to ask yourself those type of questions.
You want to hear a crazy stat? In 2023, okay, in the 2023 and 2023 season, after the end of it, the Miami Dolphins, okay, 35% of their snaps were headed into free agency. Okay, last offseason. This offseason, that was fourth most in the NFL. This offseason, 40.3% of the snaps taken on this team are heading into free agency, third most in the NFL, behind only Washington and Minnesota. Now, some context to that is Robert Jones and Eichenberg account for some of those snaps, but so does guys like Calais Campbell.
You can't build no continuity with that.
Yeah.
You can't.
So,
mercenaries, free agents, guys that really and truly aren't even tied to the whole process. The only one that was really tied to and put himself in a position, in my opinion, was Jordan Brooks. He left it all in Calais, and they left it all on the field.
And so did Ogba. I'll give Ogba the props. But that's because he'd already been here.
Yeah, he'd already been here.
Yeah. Kendall Fuller left it on the field. He just couldn't stay on the field. And Johnny. No.
But when you see a guy like you brought up,
I always think the defense first, so that's my thing.
Sorry, Richmond, go ahead.
No. I'm just saying when you bring up a guy like Calais, he got the grandbaby, Calais Campbell, that's 36 years old, and you see how he played the season from start to finish, and how productive he was at 30. You don't have an issue unless he just, hey, I don't know if I can go another year or something like that. But if he said, I think I can. I think that type of guy, he'll say, hey, I can play, but maybe just down here. But if he plays on third down, you're going to get 100% when he's in the game. He's a professional. So those are the type of guys you need to keep around. And I don't think he's the type of guy that's saying, well, he understands he's going to be 36 and I need to be the highest paid. He understands the game, and that's a guy that you can help build around and help mentor young guys like Chop, because they'll see him working. And it's like old school over there still in this and that. And a lot of time, guys like Chop that's got that work ethic, stuff like that, you want him to be mentored by guys like Campbell or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Armstead too, right? Because Armstead was helping him out too, right? Because you can give him the whole perspective from the other side of the ball. So all right. So here's the deal, everyone. No episode tomorrow with Neil. I may go live by myself, but I got some stuff going on in the evening. Me and Neil both have stuff going on in the evening, so we won't be able to do an episode. I'm trying to plan something for Friday or this weekend that I was going to do last weekend, see if I can get it going this weekend. So I got content coming your way. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. We appreciate each and every one of you coming through. We are little over 100 subscribers away from hitting 17K on the road to 20K. So let's get there. Smash that like button, and appreciate all of y'all for coming through. Always a pleasure, gentlemen. Until next time, you already know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day. Have a fantastic evening.